Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Well, it is January of 2023, which means our legislative session is right around the corner. And yeah, most of our heads are still reeling from the shellacking that we took last legislative session. Well, don't worry. Your governor and attorney general has promised much more blood to be let this legislative session as well. Yes, they are coming full force after your Second Amendment rights. Well, some of those bills are beginning to get their pre-filing number assignment. We got a couple that have hit the charts this week and figured we might want to get you up to speed. So let's spend a few minutes today, have an important discussion about the gun control bills are starting to drop in Olympia. Okay, before we get going down the road we're going down, proud to announce that this video is being brought to you by the Silent Majority Foundation. That's right, founded in 2021, the Silent Majority Foundation got started fighting for your civil liberties when Governor Inslee decided he needed to take them all during the pandemic. Since their inception in 2021, though, the Silent Majority Foundation has fought time and time again for those who could not fight for themselves. Listen, who's one of the lead plaintiffs in both Brumback v. Ferguson and Sullivan v. Ferguson to overturn Washington's standard capacity magazine ban? That's right, it's the Silent Majority Foundation. Who's down in Oregon State right now fighting against that atrocious piece of legislation, Ballot Measure 114? Oh, that's right, it's the Silent Majority Foundation. Listen, we're going to have a lot of fights coming up this year. We see what's on the legislative scale coming down the road. We know the types of fights, and candidly, we need to start preparing for that war right now. Listen, if you want to help out the folks at Silent Majority Foundation, because they've been helping you out for a couple of years now, please visit them at smfjb.org. Okay, so for those of you who geek out on legislative stuff like me, I will put a link for this down below so that you can see where all of the pre-filing bills are and who sponsored them, the bill assignment number that's been given to it, whether it's a House bill or a Senate bill. You can see about all of the wonderful, wonderful pieces of legislation that your state legislature is kicking around to make our lives so much better in the state of Washington. But there are two pieces of gun control legislation that have been dropped on there, and we need to talk about them. Now, we've talked about some of the big things that are likely coming down the road. Neither one of these bills are going to probably encapsulate that, but there is some stuff that you all need to be worried about. So the first bill I want to talk to you guys about is Senate Bill 5078, brought to you by Senators Peterson and Manka Dhingra out of King County. And just to give you an idea what the mindset of these people are, let me just read to you the first paragraph of the preamble to this legislation. The legislature finds the irresponsible, dangerous, and unlawful business practices by firearms industry members contribute to the illegal use of firearms and not only constitute a public nuisance as declared in Chapter 7.48 of the RCW, but the effects of that nuisance exacerbate the public health crisis of gun violence in this state. So the gun violence problem is not caused by the criminals, according to these senators. It's actually caused by the legal activity of selling firearms to people who are lawfully allowed to possess firearms. What Senate Bill 5078, if enacted into law, would do is it would encapsulate all sorts of new activities under the public nuisance statute and allow the Attorney General to go full force after anybody who's engaged in a public nuisance. What would this law define a public nuisance to be? Well, anything that the gun grabbing left does not like in the gun industry, okay? So any type of bookkeeping errors, certainly if we have more egregious acts, intentionally selling to unlawful people, intentionally allowing for straw purchasing, things like that, things that FFL should be accountable for, yes, this law would definitely encapsulate that activity. But when you read the broad nature of this law, and we will do more videos where we geek out about this in a little bit greater detail, especially if we begin to see that this is, if it's beginning to catch any steam behind it or momentum behind it. But the types of activities, ministerial clerical errors, oversights in bookkeeping, things such as that, that can also be deemed a public nuisance under this new Washington law. And then, of course, the scariest thing in this legislation is the absolute blank check that it gives to the Attorney General if they believe that any one of these gun businesses have engaged in a public nuisance. Because the bill right now currently proposes, whenever it appears to the Attorney General that a firearm industry member has engaged or is engaging in conduct in violation of this section, the Attorney General may commence an action to seek and obtain any remedies available for violation of this chapter, and may also seek and obtain punitive damages up to an amount not to exceed 3 times the actual damages sustained by the state, reasonable attorney's fees, and costs of the action. That's right, 3 times that amount. So it gives essentially the Attorney General the blank check to go run these companies out of business. So once again, that is Senate Bill 5078. This is expansion of significant liability for the FFL industry, and we will keep you posted about that. Now, the other bill that we need to talk about is Senate Bill 5006. Okay, this is by Senators Peterson and Rivers. Okay, and what this bill does would amend some portions of RCW 9.41.040, which talks about who can lawfully and possess firearms, who cannot lawfully possess firearms, the penalties for being in possession of a firearm unlawfully. It also makes some significant changes to RCW 9.41.350. Many of you don't know about 941.350, which is what I call our white flag laws. This is where a person can voluntarily surrender a firearm, their firearm rights. And I know some of you are rolling your eyes and saying, well, why the hell would anybody ever want to do that? Well, let me tell you something, that sometimes when you have a person who is in significant danger of having a red flag order issued against them, that there's a mountain of evidence to support that, sometimes negotiating a white flag order and allowing it to remain off their criminal record and dictating the terms of that a little easier is a far better resolution than having a red flag order. So this is a statute that I have used in some kind of emergency situations. What this legislation would do is it would encapsulate more individuals to be notified in case the individual decides to recall the white flag order. So if I have voluntarily forfeited my firearm rights and now after 6 months I decide, I think I'm good, I'm going to go ahead and get my firearm rights back, there would be additional parties that could be notified, mental health doctors, other family members, other medical professionals, other law enforcement agencies, who then may turn around and try to petition for a red flag order. So this is obviously a bill that is going to be designed as a way to save lives, but what they're looking for is more and more ways to get individuals into positions where they forfeited their rights and can't get them back. So once again, 5078 deals significantly with FFL firearm liability. 5006 would have some significant changes to our white flag or voluntary surrender of firearm rights. Now, the big ones that we're still waiting for, pre-purchasing licensing, semi-automatic rifle ban. Those are the two that we are really kind of waiting on bated breath on. Those have not dropped yet. Obviously, as soon as they are pre-filed and we have a bill number assigned to them, you will be the first to know. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions about what's going on in Olympia now or what may be coming later, you know the drill. You can always contact us at WashingtonGunLaw.com, or of course you can call us directly at 425-765-0487. Now, let's remember, part of being a lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here at Washington Gun Law, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.